The story begins at Grace Fieldhouse, an orphanage where Emma eagerly looks forward to the day a family will come to adopt her. In the meantime, she does everything she can to help take care of the younger children, since she is one of the older girls at the orphanage. Even though none of them have parents, the children live happily because they have each other and, above all, because they receive plenty of love from Isabella, the woman who runs the orphanage and whom everyone calls Mom. Every month, the children at Gracefield must take tests designed to measure their intelligence. As always, the best results are achieved by Norman, Ray, and Emma, who receive praise from Isabella, who says she is very proud of them. After classes, everyone is allowed to go outside to play in the yard and enjoy their favorite game, hide and seek. However, there is one very clear rule. No one is allowed to leave the orphanage grounds. While Norman counts, the children hide in different places. After finding the younger ones, Norman goes looking for Emma and discovers that she has hidden high up in the trees. To make her come down, he pretends to fall and acts as if he needs help. Worried, Emma immediately climbs down to help him, but as soon as she does, she gets caught, causing everyone to burst into laughter. At the end of the afternoon, an important moment arrives. The children say goodbye to Connie, who has been adopted and is about to leave with her new family. Although it hurts her to leave her friends behind, Connie is very excited about the future that awaits her. Emma and the others are happy for her and wish her the best. At Gracefield, when a child turns 16, they must be adopted and leave the orphanage. Because of this, Emma and Norman, who are already 15, realize that their time there is coming to an end. The two promise to stay in touch when they leave, but Emma notices that once children are adopted, they never write back. Innocently, she believes it is because they are happy with their new families and forget about Gracefield. While talking about these promises, Emma and Norman enter the kitchen and notice that Connie's favorite stuffed rabbit has been left behind. At that moment, Ray appears and suggests that they go after her, since they might still catch up before she leaves completely. The two decide to listen to him and run to the storage area where the children are handed over to their adoptive families. When they arrive, something feels wrong. The place is completely dark. Even so, they decide to go inside and look for Connie. That is when Emma makes a terrifying discovery. In the back of a truck, she finds Connie's lifeless body. Horrified, she immediately steps back, and Norman moves closer to take a better look. At that moment, he sees a strange red flower growing out of Connie's chest. As they try to understand what is happening, they hear a deep voice approaching. Frightened, Emma and Norman hide underneath the vehicle, taking the stuffed rabbit with them. From there, they see two monstrous creatures appear, terrifying-looking demons who come to take Connie's body away. As they speak to each other, they reveal an even more horrifying truth. The human meat produced at Gracefield Farm is of high quality and is reserved only for the wealthiest demons. Shortly afterward, Isabella appears. One of the demons orders her to prepare the next 3 oldest children, making it clear that she works for these creatures. Upon hearing this, Emma goes into shock, while Norman, trying to stay calm, begins desperately thinking of a possible way to escape. Suddenly, one of the demons senses a strange smell and crouches down to look under the truck. However, the only thing it finds is the stuffed rabbit that had been left behind. Seeing this, Isabella suspects that another child may have been there, but she decides not to say anything. Back at the orphanage, Emma and Norman meet with Ray, but they choose not to tell him anything about what they have just witnessed. That night, Emma has terrible nightmares about the demons and wakes up crying over Connie's death. Now that she knows the truth, that the orphanage is not a home, but a farm where children are raised to be eaten, Emma completely loses her joy and asks Norman for help in coming up with an escape plan. Eventually, the two reach a disturbing conclusion. The tall fence surrounding Gracefield House is not there to protect them from the outside world, but to keep them imprisoned. Determined to save all the children at the orphanage, Emma and Norman begin planning a way to climb the massive wall that surrounds Gracefield in order to discover what lies on the other side. However, just as they are about to try, they hear the bells ringing to announce that it is time to return, so they immediately head back to avoid raising suspicion. Shortly afterward, they realize that one of the children has gotten lost in the forest. Isabella acts right away and uses a strange device to track her, and minutes later she returns carrying the girl safe and sound in her arms. It is at that moment that Emma and Norman realize the terrible truth. All the children have a tracking device implanted in their ears, allowing Isabella to locate them easily at any time. The next day, while Emma and Norman are talking in the forest, Ray approaches them and directly asks what they are talking about, adding that they have been acting very strangely ever since the night they went to the storage area. Without beating around the bush, Emma decides to tell him everything she saw that night, and to her surprise, Ray believes her almost immediately, without any hesitation. Now that Ray is on their side, Emma and Norman feel even more confident that they can escape from this prison along with all the other children. After several hours of studying in the library, the three of them reach a chilling conclusion. The demons mainly eat the children's brains, which is why Isabella forces them to study so much, since the smarter they are, the higher their value. With Phil's help, the trio discovers a collection of books donated by someone named William, books that hide secret messages, clues meant to help the children escape. That same afternoon, the children meet a new caretaker who arrives to help Isabella look after them. Her name is Crone. When she learns that some of the children may have discovered the truth about the orphanage, she panics and demands that they be shipped out as soon as possible. But Isabella refuses, knowing that doing so would ruin her reputation. Instead, she orders Crone to keep a close eye on the children and make sure that none of them tries to escape. Knowing that the next shipment will take place in 45 days, Emma, Norman, and Ray realize that time is running out and that they need to find a way to escape before more children are sent to their deaths. To avoid raising suspicion, they decide to secretly train the younger children, improving their stamina and physical skills while playing hide and seek, making it all look like harmless fun. To everyone's surprise, Crone decides to join the game and offers to count so the children can hide. After finding the younger kids, she begins searching for Emma and manages to discover her hiding behind a rock, protecting a small girl in her arms, and while trying to save her, Emma ends up being caught. Even so, Ray and Norman manage to win the game, as Crone fails to catch them within the 20-minute time limit. When the game ends, Norman realizes something unsettling. Isabella already knows that he and Emma were at the storage area that night, leading him to conclude that there is an informant among the children. To find out who the traitor is, Norman decides to test his friends, and instead of telling everyone the full truth about what happened to Connie, the group begins to reveal the information little by little, in a controlled way. The first ones to learn the truth are Dawn and Gilda, who react with anger and shock upon hearing it. But Emma manages to convince them that the demons are real thanks to the trust she has built with the other children over the years. Later, when they return to their rooms, Norman reveals to Emma and Ray that he already has a plan to expose the traitor. He explains where he hid the rope they made to climb the wall and confesses that he gave different instructions to Dawn and Gilda. He told Dawn that the rope was hidden under his bed, while he told Gilda that it was in the attic. What neither of them knows is that there are actually two ropes. If one of them disappears, Norman will know exactly who the traitor is. That same night, Isabella receives a report. Someone informs her that the rope is hidden under Norman's bed. The next morning, Norman gathers Emma and Ray to share the results of his test. According to what he saw, the rope under his bed has disappeared, and Ray quickly concludes that Dawn is the traitor. However, Ray does not realize that he has just fallen into Norman's trap and, without meaning to, has exposed himself as Isabella's true informant. The truth is that Norman never told Dawn that the rope was under his bed. He gave him a different location and, from the very beginning, set a special trap for Ray, since he had always suspected that Ray might be the spy. Once he is exposed, Ray decides to tell the whole truth. He confesses that he has been working with Isabella to keep the children under control. When he was only 6 years old, Ray discovered the horrifying truth about Grace Field and, in order to survive, made a deal with Isabella that allowed him to delay his departure from the orphanage. However, Ray was never truly loyal to her. Everything was part of his plan to buy time and prepare an escape. In fact, it was Ray himself who hid Connie's stuffed rabbit and later allowed Emma and Norman to find it. His intention was for them to go after the girl to return the toy, since that was the only way they could discover the truth about the orphanage. Instead of getting angry or blaming Ray for keeping that secret for so many years, Emma reacts with empathy. She understands the pain Ray has carried since he was so young and tells him that it could not have been easy to live with that burden for so long. Norman, for his part, realizes that Ray could be extremely useful to them as a double agent, someone capable of diverting Isabella's attention while they move forward with their plan. When they return to the house, Ray shows his friends a device he has been secretly building, a machine designed to disable the tracking chips implanted in all the children. Ray explains that the final parts will arrive the next day, so it will soon be ready. The following morning, as the 5 children prepare to climb the wall and see what lies on the other side, Crone suddenly appears and says she wants to join them. She then shows them the numbers tattooed on her neck, making it clear that she also grew up in an orphanage. Crone explains that she has a tracker implanted in her heart and that if she tries to leave the farm, an electric shock would cause her heart to stop instantly. Crone's true goal is to become the head supervisor of the orphanage, which is why she decides to help the children escape, since if they succeed, Isabella will be removed from her position. That night, the 5 of them go to Crone's room and uncover shocking information. There are many other farms spread across the world. When they ask her about the outside world, Crone says she has never left the farm, but claims that thousands of humans live beyond those walls. Driven by curiosity, Emma asks where the demons come from. Crone then reveals an ancient story. Thousands of years ago, there was a war between humans and demons. During that time, demons hunted humans for food, and people lived in hiding to survive. Tired of an endless war, both sides made a promise to live in separate worlds. However, for that agreement to work, some humans had to remain in the demon world so that their descendants would be raised and domesticated as food. After hearing all of this, the children head back to their rooms. Later, Ray goes to speak with Isabella. After receiving the camera he had asked for as a gift, Ray tells her part of the conversation he had with Crone and reveals that she plans to become the new supervisor of Gracefield. The next morning, Ray shows his new camera to all the children at the orphanage and takes a group photo so they can have a memory together. While the younger kids have fun with the camera, Ray confides in Emma and Norman that the final parts he needs to destroy the tracking chips are hidden inside it. To keep Crone from discovering the device, Emma decides to hide it inside Phil's stuffed pig. However, Crone manages to find it anyway. Just as she is about to take the device, she sees Isabella approaching and receives unexpected news. She has been summoned to become the supervisor of another orphanage. After packing her belongings, Crone leaves a pen hidden inside Norman's nightstand. Although she no longer has time to carry out her plan, she still wants to harm Isabella in some way. Shortly afterward, Crone is taken before an elderly woman known as Grandma, who oversees the mothers of all the orphanages. There, Crone reveals that some of the children at Gracefield are planning to escape and hopes to be rewarded for delivering this information. However, Grandma shows absolute loyalty to Isabella and, without hesitation, orders a demon to devour Crone to prevent her from replacing her. Meanwhile, realizing that Emma and Norman are near the wall, Isabella decides to go after them. When she finds them, she tells them to abandon their escape plan, insisting that their fate has already been decided. Although she knows perfectly well that the children are being raised to be used as food, Isabella claims that she truly loves them and that everything she has done has been to give them a happy life until the moment of their inevitable end. At that instant, Emma understands that Isabella will do whatever it takes to stop them from escaping, so she makes a desperate decision and lunges at her, hoping to give Norman the chance to cross the wall. Norman is about to start climbing, but he stops when he hears Emma's screams. Isabella has broken her leg to stop her. Shortly afterward, Norman discovers a devastating truth. His shipment date has already been scheduled, and in just 3 days, he will be sent to the demons. When Emma and Ray learn this, they try to convince him to escape the next morning. However, Norman refuses, because he does not want any of his friends to be shipped in his place. That night, while staying with Emma, Ray tells her how he discovered the truth about the orphanage. Unlike most people, who lose their memories from early childhood, Ray remembers everything, even what happened when he was still in his mother's womb. When he was born, the first place he saw was a facility filled with other babies and demons. Shortly after, he was taken to Gracefield, where he spent nearly his entire life. Now that his device is complete, Ray hands it to Norman and tells him to activate it by bringing it close to his ear and pressing a switch. Meanwhile, Dawn and Gilda work on a new rope so Norman can escape in the morning. The plan is clear. Once Emma's leg heals, Ray will help guide the rest of the children out of the orphanage. When Norman returns to his room, he opens the drawer of his nightstand and finds the pen Crone left behind before she was taken away. At dawn, he prepares to escape. With Gilda and Dawn's help, he gathers supplies to survive for a few days in the forest. Using a rope made from bedsheets, he reaches the top of the wall, but when he sees what lies on the other side, he decides to come back. When his friends confront him, Norman explains what he discovered. Beyond the wall there is a massive cliff, and the only way across it is by a bridge that leads to a headquarters, the same place Ray had mentioned earlier. After sharing all the information he has gathered, Norman returns the device meant to destroy the tracking chip and says goodbye to his friends with one final hug, convinced that he will never see them again. After saying farewell to the other children, Norman takes his hat and suitcase and accompanies Isabella to the storage area. However, when they arrive, he is not greeted by a demon, but by a mysterious man. This man explains that demons need to consume human brains in order to gain intelligence, and that the smarter the child is, the more valuable their brain becomes. His job is to make sure that the agreement between humans and demons is upheld, maintaining peace between both worlds. Thanks to the sacrifice of a few children, millions of people are able to live safely. Shortly after hearing these words, Norman sees a demon approaching. The next morning, Emma is visited by Isabella, who, to her surprise, reveals that she plans to recommend Emma as the next supervisor of Gracefield. In the end, Isabella tells her that since she cannot change the world, the best thing she can do is try to survive for as long as possible. 2 months later, with only 2 days left before Ray is scheduled to be shipped out, Emma wakes up in the middle of the night to speak with him. At that moment, she reveals the escape plan she has been organizing ever since Norman's departure. Aware that Isabella is always watching her, Emma kept her distracted while leaving the training of the younger children to Gilda and Dawn. Thanks to that, they managed to gather enough food and tools, and now everyone is ready to escape the next day. However, Ray knows that security is much tighter during the daytime, so he decides to change the plan and act that very night. According to him, the best chance to escape is to start a fire in the house. While Isabella tries to control the flames, the children will be able to evacuate without raising suspicion. Ray begins spreading fuel around the room and suddenly pours it over his own body as well. He would rather die than become food for the demons. After saying goodbye to Emma, he orders her to run away with the other children. But Emma panics and starts screaming desperately. Hearing her screams, Isabella rushes in and finds one of her prodigy children engulfed in flames. Without thinking, she tries to put out the fire using a fire extinguisher. While she is distracted, the other children leave the house and run into the forest. Minutes later, Emma rejoins them and congratulates Ray on his plan. That night, he truly was willing to die so his friends could escape. However, Emma had made a small change. Using a blade, she cut off Ray's ear. That way, when Isabella checked the tracker, she would believe the boy had been trapped in the fire and would focus on saving him. Before leaving, Norman had hidden a letter under Emma's pillow, explaining the rest of the plan they needed to follow. For now, the children under 4 years old would have to stay behind, but Emma promises to come back for them before they turn 6, since from that age on they begin to be shipped to the demons. When Isabella realizes that the older children have escaped, she reacts immediately, using a radio to contact headquarters and ask for help. The alarm is activated, and the demons begin spreading through the forest to capture the fugitives. Upon reaching the top of the wall, Emma reveals to the others that Norman left behind a newly drawn escape route. Instead of crossing the bridge, they will have to traverse the cliff using hangers and ropes. One by one, the children manage to complete the dangerous crossing. Finally, it is Emma's turn. At that moment, Isabella appears and confesses something unexpected. She also tried to escape when she was the same age. According to her, a boy named Leslie was eliminated on the day he turned 16. After losing the person she loved the most, Isabella tried to escape, but when she saw the cliff, she realized that there was no safe place in that world for her. It was then that she abandoned her escape and decided to aim for the position of supervisor. Even after hearing this story and knowing that she would have a better chance of surviving if she followed in Isabella's footsteps, Emma chooses to continue her escape. Instead of stopping her, Isabella decides not to cut the rope, acknowledging that Emma had the courage to do what she herself never could. As she watches all the children celebrating on the other side of the cliff, Isabella breaks down in tears and wishes them a happy and promising future far away from that farm. After walking for a few minutes, Emma shows her friends the pen Norman left under her pillow. From inside it, an owl-shaped hologram appears and points them in the direction they must follow. Meanwhile, Isabella reports the escape of most of the children from the orphanage. Feeling responsible, and as she sees a demon slowly approaching her, Isabella smiles and accepts her fate.